music is just so chilling. Like, I don't mean feeling like spooky chilling. I mean just like chilling. You know? I like it. Welcome to the Just Gonna Say a podcast on Dylan Talks Tone every Tuesday afternoon at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Today we are going to talk about why anyone would nerd out about guitars this much. I'll tell you what got me going on this. It was one of you, actually, who came up with this idea. You don't even know it. But before we get going, just want to thank my Patreon supporters, YouTube members down there. I just uploaded another Patreon and YouTube member video today. Gave you some really cool updates about what's going on at Dylan Talks Tone. I've told them a bunch of stuff that I haven't told anybody else, so it's pretty cool over there. So make sure you check that out. That's what supports all these things, since we don't really have sponsors for this kind of stuff. So thank you so much. Also, make sure you go down in the end of the or bottom of the video there and use those links such as Dylan Talks Tone and buy yourself some pickups. I should mention, we got some new merch over there on Dylan Talks Tone. We got a new hat. Where did I put it? I just took a shower, so I'm not wearing a hat. But we got this new hat. We're really kind of upping our game with a lot of the new designs over there. We've got the Sustain Brothers Club, Guitar Club shirt over there, which is pretty cool. We've got the Play or Die shirt. We've got a bunch of other stuff. A couple of these new shirts, you'll see them because they're like $5 more. They're like this athletic material. They're not even like a regular t-shirt. Man, they feel nice. They're super cool. Your moisture wicking summertime kind of shirt. So there you go. And I just dripped water on my notepad. And apparently this ink is not waterproof. All right. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's chat. If you have guitar questions, put a bunch of question marks in front of, let's see. Put a bunch of question marks in front of a question if you have a question, and we will get to that question as we chat about this. This is one of those subjects. It's kind of funny because it's like it falls under the guitarist double standard, if you will, because we put out a video, right? That's super nerdy, and it's not really that nerdy. It was just a guitar setup video. And somebody in the chat yesterday said, they're like, this is almost comical how nerdy this is. Why do you need to nerd out about this much? Why can't you just play guitar? What's really funny about that is I say that all the time. That's exactly how I feel. Like, why do people complain about stuff? Why do people fight about, why has guitar become a religion in such a way that it has? We'll talk about some specifics later, but it's just a weird thing to me, because I'm not going to tell you I don't care about it that much. But when it comes to how much of a guitar nerd I really am, I'm not. I mean, I don't care about capacitor choice and all that kind of stuff. Do I care about it? Yes, but I don't nerd out about it. Does it sound good? Yes. Then I'm not going to mess with it. Does it not sound good? Okay, well, then I'm going to make a change or two. But I'm not going to chase it. And if I don't like a guitar, I don't like a guitar. I'm just going to get a different one. I just don't care. Like, it's not, I'm not this super ridiculous guitar nerd. And I am not one who believes so strongly in any one thing that is not actual science surrounding guitars, where cognitive dissonance becomes a problem for me. If I see, so the definition of cognitive dissonance, by the way, I wrote this down: the mental conflict that occurs when beliefs become contradicted by newly learned information. So if you're a person who always learns, you got to be willing to be wrong. which is cool. That's really fun because that makes everything better. But for some reason, guitar players don't do that. They like believe in a thing so hard, even though, I mean, there's a lot of things I can show you. Like, here's the science. Magnetic string pull of a neck pickup, for example. Here's the science. Well, yeah, but I heard it one time when I was in a band in some bar in somewhere. Here's the science. This is the math. Okay. So, why do I make videos? Why do any of us watch any of these videos if we find these traits about guitars and guitar players annoying? Because we do. We've typically, even those of us that are the nerdiest about this stuff, A, either try to deny it, or B, uh, will a lot of times just be like, oh, I'm so tired of hearing about this. Um, why do we, because I get it in the comments all the time too, why do we have the 1,000th video on X or Y subject? Well, it's because we're going to talk about a few reasons why. Why we take the time to make these videos, why you take the time to watch them, and I think why we are all guitar nerds in the end. There are some real, I think there are some real reasons. Um, car folks are called guitar enthusiasts or car enthusiasts. Why shouldn't we be called guitar enthusiasts? That is a great question. That is a great question. And I have an answer for you. Because car enthusiasts are enthusiastic about their cars. Guitar players are enthusiastic about being right about their guitars. There's a difference. I don't understand guitar culture, why people have to, it goes back to that cognitive dissonance situation, making the thing a religion. Um, it's there now. There are other like like car cultures and motorcycle cultures and stuff. Harley Davidson people are a good example of that. Some Corvette people are a good example of that. Porsche people are a good example of that. Where no matter what anybody else says, they think it needs to be an exact certain way to be acceptable, right? There's always those people. But most people in other areas are like, if you have a Trans Am and I have a Corvette, they're still cool because they're both cars. Uh, you know, if you have, and even especially in the 2024s of it all, if you have a 2JZ Supra and I have a Corvette or I have some kind of muscle car, I still think your car is cool. You know, I'm not into it maybe myself as much, which is a lie because I like 2JZs, but there are people that are like, I'm not into stuff that's not a V8 as much, but it's still cool. It's still fast. I still have to race you. You still can beat me. Where in the guitar community, it's very much more fractured. Um, but that's a negative thing. That's just people. My daughter says all the time. She's like, oh, I can't stand people today, and I'm like, no, you can't stand sucky people. There's a lot of really good people, so you can't stand the sucky people, but you really do like the good people. And it's the same thing with guitar players. There's morons out there, and there's good ones. So on the positive side of all of this, though, I really think uh, I'm going to tell you what drives me, and then you can get in the comments and uh, you can get in the comments and tell me what you think. But for me, it's curiosity. Leslie and I were talking about this the other day. It's curiosity. It's wanting to try everything. The reason I make all these videos and the reason I've taken everything apart 20 times a piece every time and done all this testing is not to know something. For me personally, it's not, well, it is to know it. Let me say this. There's a difference between wanting to know and wanting to be right. Okay? So I don't care about being right. I just want to know. So I'll take something apart a bunch of times. I'll do a bunch of testing. I'll read up on the science. I'll educate myself. Not to be right, just to learn. Along the way, that curiosity keeps getting fed and fed and fed and fed, and your horizons continue to be broadened, and you learn all these things, right? I used to be like that old crotchety guitar player who was like, I only play strats and tellies are dumb. You know what I mean? I literally was that guy. I hated tellies. Now I love them. But when you allow yourself to be curious, and that's like the motivation um, about um, you know, why the curiosity should be the motivation about why you learn things, not to be right. There was a guy and just gonna call him out. I don't even care. There was some dude in the chat yesterday. He was in my chat telling everybody else the right way to set up a Stratocaster and how I was wrong. So I've never done that on somebody else's YouTube channel. I don't care about being right. I'm just telling you that what I do works, and the measurements that I use and all this stuff, it makes it work. It really works. And those of you that have tried it, know. Um, it's not about being right. It's really about the curiosity of it all. Like I just want to learn everything and learn all the ways, you know. That's why you learn about new tools. That's why you learn about new guitar making methods. That's why you learn about all these things. Um, but here's why. It's because if I'm going to be, for me personally, I'm going to nerd out about this stuff because if I am going to be in the business and I'm going to make a living and feed my family, you know, we've not talked a lot about this on this channel yet, but you're going to see in the next year or so. Um, we're going to be employing more people. We are going to be, I mean, we're doing some pretty neat things around here. And we already are actually employing more people. I mean, what it really means is when you buy a set of pickups, you're going to be feeding like 6 people. So it's a serious thing for me, and it's my family. It's actually not outside employees. It's my family's working for me. So it's very, very cool. So for me to make progress in my business, I need to continue to be curious. Speaking of progress, progress has happened so much in the guitar industry in the last 15 or 20 years, and especially in the last 5 to 10 years, that it's really important to continue to keep making these videos and understand all this stuff. I know that I'm fighting an uphill battle trying to get people to understand how um, modelers work and what they are and what the difference between a solid state amp and a digital modeler is, because they're not the same thing, but everybody lumps them in the same category, right? So you got to keep making that content. And there are so many choices that we need to understand, not what is good and what is bad. I do not believe that there is much bad gear out there these days, but what fits for what person. There are people who are head rush people, and there are people that are Kemper people. It doesn't make the head rush bad. The Kemper is better for a lot of reasons, but you may not need what the Kemper does. Therefore, let's say it's not better, it does more. So you may not need the features that do more things. So where are you in the market? Are you a Line 6 Spider Jam guy? Which there is a person for that. That's not a bad piece of gear. It's just there's a certain person for it. So we make the videos to help people understand where they fall in the market. The problem with guitar players is they have zero humility about where they belong in the market. Zero humility about it. So if I tell you, stop bitching about Les Pauls and buy an Epiphone, you will be happy. And don't tell me that that your Epiphone is as good as my guitar. It's not. However, you're an Epiphone guy. That's what you can afford. That is the qualities about the instrument that you appreciate. And therefore, because of this review and this review, we have determined that you are an Epiphone guy. There's nothing wrong with that. We have determined that you are a Squier Affinity guy. Maybe you are a Classic Vibe guy. Maybe you are or gal, a Made in Mexico Strat guy. It's not better or worse. It's what kind of person are you, what are your needs, and what guitar fills your needs. It doesn't matter what I play. It matters what you play because you're the one making the choice. So we need to put those choices out there and show you effectively where you fit in the market, or allow you to choose where you fit in the market, right? So it's not about better guitars and worse guitars and comparing every little friggin' thing on a guitar and nerding out and making each other angry. That's not the goal of why we would be a guitar nerd. It's to understand where you personally fit in the guitar market and what gear you will like. Or here's where I am, and this is where I'd like to be, because do I really want somebody? I'll give you an example. Somebody commented on a video yesterday, and they said, after this video, I think I'm going to sell my Epiphone Les Paul 59, like the good one, and I'm going to buy this McCarty 594 SE as an upgrade. What do you think? And I told him, I think that you would regret that decision, because people think that a guitar is an upgrade because of some reason or another. We don't need to understand why. When in reality, what they have, they're really happy with, and it's a flavor change, not necessarily an upward. No one should ever look at this stuff as upgrading or downgrading. This is, you are, and sometimes it is. I mean, going from an Epiphone Les Paul to a Gibson Les Paul definitely is an upgrade, but if you can't do that, and if we're looking around, those two guitars, that's a lateral move, and that is literally a flavor change. It's all about what flavor do you want. So when we nerd out about this stuff, it's not necessarily about what's better or worse. It's just like, what do you like, and does this thing have a thing that I like? I wish folks would watch videos and nerd out about guitar stuff more with the spirit of, ooh, dang, that is sweet. Rather than, well, that thing's not any better than the thing I already have. Like, come on, man. Just like stuff. If you died tomorrow, would you be known for what you didn't like or what you did like? Simple as that. How do you want to be known in the human existence? And the other thing, too, is that with this guitar progress that's going on, another good reason to be a guitar nerd right now, and it's a great time to be a guitar nerd, is because of all of the changes that have been made in the guitar industry. Quality has really, really gone up. We can make a lot of arguments, and people can say a lot of things and stupidity about Gibson quality control and even Fender quality control and whatever. But the expectation of quality has changed over the years as manufacturing methods and speed has changed. So, in the 1950s and 60s, guitars were not very consistent and honestly not very good. If you were to refinish a Les Paul now, it would not look the same as a newly finished Travel Back in Time Les Paul back then. That guitar would not look as good as the one does now. Same thing with cars. If you were to take a what made me think of this is I was actually just watching some rerun stuff from the Barrett Jackson auction in Scottsdale, because I am from Arizona, and I used to kind of follow that a lot. And they had it was like a 62 Corvette that was 100% unrestored. And it looked great, but you could tell that the type of paint finish that it had was different. So then the next car that came out was a fully restored 1962 or 63, C2 Corvette. And it looked completely different because it had modern paint on it. And one of the things they said was, it's like, it looks better than it did new. And they asked the restorer, why do you make it look so brand new? And he said, because the expectation of the client has changed. Back in the 60s and 70s, what was possible was all that was possible. Therefore, the expectations were this amount of shine on the chrome, etc. But now that technology has moved forward and the possibility is much higher for higher quality, then the expectation is higher. So, people look at a Les Paul, for example, a Gibson Les Paul, The paint isn't very shiny, and it does have some sand scratches in it, or it can have some sand scratches in it, and you can see um, lacquer shrinkage and all those things. But that is how the finish is applied. That's what it is. Um, and the other thing is, in an Amazon world, people don't understand the difference between a complete factory urethane guitar and something that is there's more hands on it. Um, you cannot have the perfection of a machine product and the handmade aspect of a handmade product in the same exact product. There's always going to be a give and take to that, at least not for any sort of reasonable price. Now, perfection or close to perfection is attainable, but you have to pay for it because you have to the time frame to do that thing to that same level. For example, to have a buffed to shine quality that you would have like on a PRS, you have an American one, you would have to pay 5 times as much, right? So it, it's time or money, or there's that has to give somewhere, is what I'm saying. But our you know expectations have changed, with that sort of thing. Let's see. Good afternoon. How late am I? We always start at 4 o'clock. Let's see. I just ordered my level 2 Challenger with 2P90s. Dude, that's so sweet. There's no better time than now to be a guitar player. Yeah, no, it's really neat. I think it's really cool. Um, I think it's really cool. I think that guitar players think they need to know things to be guitar players. That's a problem. I think that they need to have a level of knowledge uh, to know things. Um, Being informed is cool, but you don't need to be smarter than the next guitar player next to you about capacitors and stuff to be a guitar player in 2024. You don't need to. Being genuinely interested uh, is cool, but be genuinely interested. If you're going to be an enthusiast, be an enthusiast. Don't be a know it all. Don't be somebody who just has to be right about how to set the action on a friggin' guitar. Nobody cares about you, right? If you keep talking like that, nobody cares about you. But if you say, check out this cool thing I got, people are going to be like, oh, dang, that's cool. I want one of those too. Or where did you get that? Or whatever, right? Just be an enthusiast. If you want to be a guitar nerd and stuff, be a guitar enthusiast. In fact, you're right. Whoever said that earlier, we might just have to start saying that. Since you tinker, play, and perform, I have not performed in about 2 years. So, uh, would you say it's the sideliners that run their mouth the most? In jujitsu, we say to weigh the advice of people who won't or can't put it to the test. I think it's mostly people. Um, I think it's mostly people in comment sections. The stereotypical "you're commenting from your mom's basement," blah 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 blah. You know, I, everyone can find, and you have a point there. And I don't want this to sound negative because I'm trying to find the positives in all this, right? Like I'm really, especially on Tuesdays, I've really been trying to flip this around to like the positive thing. Like, how do we change this culture and make it cool? But what I would say, so just don't be that like know-it-all person all the time. Because I'm not. I mean, I don't care about this stuff. I'm not married to any one thing about myself because I'm constantly learning and learning and learning and learning and learning. So, however, science is science. And as science changes, we go with it. But there are certain physics doesn't change. And the guitar is based on physics, which is really, really kind of fun. Um, and I think, you know, the where a lot of the negativity comes from is in the value proposition of an instrument. because the value proposition of any physical object is subject to the eye of the beholder, which is totally cool. The only thing I wish would be different in the guitar world is if you don't think what I have is worth it to you, don't tell me. I don't need to know. I don't need to know what is not worth it to you. I want to know what is worth it to you. If you play a Harley Benton and I play a Les Paul, I don't feel any less about you because of what you play. I don't at all whatsoever. I made that post yesterday about that guy that made the comment about I bought a Squire and all my friends started making fun of me and stuff. And people in the comments were trying to make the point that you didn't need to care. But there was a lot of people in the comments who then started talking shit about people who play more expensive guitars, which is they're doing exactly the same thing to people who play expensive guitars. So now you're alienating me because I play a more expensive guitar than you, when you're telling me I shouldn't alienate you for playing a cheaper guitar than I do. It's the same thing, only backwards. There's two sides to that coin, right? So if your value proposition for an instrument, or any physical thing, don't forget, I'm not trying to get you to buy the same guitar I have. In fact, I don't want you to buy the same guitar I have, because then you would have the same thing I would have, and I would have to go find something cool and different that wasn't the same thing as you. I'm not trying to get you to buy some. Okay, we're back. Sorry. Shoot. Check. There we go. I'm not. I'm going to switch to a. Oh, well, maybe it's working now. Check. Okay, we'll go with this. I'm not trying to get you to buy something expensive. I'm trying to get you to buy anything and play it. It's not that when I say I like a nice guitar, I don't look down on anybody for playing anything different. I don't. Now, I do have principal issues with certain brands who do things a certain way. I don't like them. But I'm very consistent on that. 100% consistent on that. And I think you should be too. I think you should be consistent too. I think if you like inexpensive guitars, enjoy it. However, don't tell me why an expensive guitar is not worth it to you. Tell me why the cheap one is. I want to know what you like. I don't care what you don't like. I want to know what you like. And you should tell everyone around you what you like and how you enjoy it and how it brings you joy. You know, like what's her face who makes you throw all your shit away. Like, be cool about that. Like, really think about that. Be the person who shares everything that you like. Comment about it. When you watch a video, starting with this one and every video that I make from now on, get in the comments and tell me what you like. Even if it's something that is not in that video. And I won't look negatively on it. If we do a video, we're going to do a video next week and I'm going to use my Martin. No, apologize. I'm going to use my Les Paul. And if you get in the comments and you say, I have a Harley Benton, I like my Harley Benton, and I'm going to use because we're going to do a setup video on Les Pauls. And I fully expect there to be a bunch of people with not Les Pauls, but are constructed the same, that will apply to in the comments. Tell me, this is the guitar that I like. I have a Harley Benton. I have a whatever, S7, whatever. Who cares? I don't care what it is. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what it is. I want to know what you like, not what you don't like. That's what being a guitar nerd should be. You're right. Whoever said that earlier, is genius. We should be guitar enthusiasts. Let's even change that. In fact, I may go change the title of this video. In fact, I'm going to write this down. Are you a guitar enthusiast? Or a nerd? And I think we should all be guitar enthusiasts. Thank you for that contribution. And that's what I'm talking about. You got the spirit of what I'm trying to say here. That's exactly right. We start talking about expensive guitars, right? And we talk about diminishing returns. So what is the line of diminishing returns? Well, this is with everything. This could be with pocket knives. This could be with motorcycles. It's all really with dirt bikes. How much you spend on a suspension, whatever, right? And I always talk about my 90-10-5 rule. 90% of the money in the hobby is spent to get the last 10% of the performance out of something that only 5% of people will ever be able to appreciate. That doesn't mean that money is misspent. And to me, the law of diminishing returns is stupid. And I'm going to tell you why. Because the diminishing returns are only diminishing to the person who does not appreciate the thing that they're paying for. The returns aren't diminishing for the person who appreciates the thing that they're getting at the very tippy top of that. There are no diminishing returns. So if I buy a Les Paul because I want that finish, because I want it to smell like that, because I want it to feel like that, because I want the binding and the little nibs on this on the frets, and because I want it to say Gibson. Let's be honest. I want to have a Gibson because I want the thing that everybody else is trying to be. I want the thing that is the thing, right? Not an imitation of the thing. I want the thing. If those things that may not be important to you are important to me, then there are no diminishing returns because I'm paying extra to get those few little tippy top things that make all the difference for me. So the law of diminishing returns, in my opinion, is stupid. Because it means that the more you pay, the less you're getting, or the more you pay, the more finite the changes are, which might be true, but they're not diminishing in my mind if those are the things that I appreciate. The major portions of the guitar are huge. A chunk of mahogany, chunk of maple, right? Those are big chunks. And those are all at the bottom of the pile of the things that make it a guitar. It's the details at the top of the pile that take the thing to the next level. But those are also the things that are the smallest, but they're also the things that you pay the most for. So the law of diminishing returns to me is like, it's kind of dumb. It's sort of upside down because it's like, wait a minute. No, yeah, I'm paying for that. But that's what I want. That's what's important to me. I was thinking about it. I'll tell you where that came up for me. And again, this comes from something else other than guitars. But I was shopping for a pistol, and for those of you that are familiar, I was looking at a double stack Nighthawk. It's a $5,800 pistol. And no, I'm not going to buy one because I'm not Mr. Beast. I don't have that kind of YouTube money. But I was looking at it and I was like, I remember being at the shooting range a few weeks ago and somebody else bought one. And the guy that works at the shooting range took it out of the bag and he's like, I don't know why anybody pays for this thing. I just don't see it. And I was looking at it and I'm like, I see it. I see exactly why they pay for it. It's these little details. So he didn't see it, but I saw it. I understood what the difference was between that and, some Springfield Garrison or something. I get it. The bigger pieces are the easy pieces. So the diminishing returns part is the tough part. But to be an enthusiast, those are the things you learn about. Those are the things. What are the things that set this apart from this? And not with the spirit of, is it worth it? Like, well, it's totally not worth it. Les Paul doesn't shouldn't cost times as much as an Epiphone. Well, actually it should, because here's why. This is these parts, this time, this method, these materials, where the materials come from, blah, blah, how a business works, all this kind of stuff. This is where you get to this result, right? Now, is it worth it to you? No, but I don't want to know that. I want to know why you like your Epiphone. I want to know why you like your Harley Benton. Be enthusiastic about the thing that you have and that you like, instead of hating what somebody else has. I think I'm not kidding, whoever brought that up, it is important. If you pay attention to the small details, you will also pay attention to the large details in general, which really, you bring up a great point there, because with the large details, small details thing, because there's where watching all these videos, and really, this is where kind of the nerdy part comes in, right? Because a new guitar player does not have, this is no fault, the new at anything person, right? If you're just learning to ride a bike, you don't understand why there's a $6,000 or $8,000 road bike, right? As you start to appreciate the aspects of what you're doing, then you start to understand those finer points and are willing to pay for them, maybe. Or maybe you just decide, I am a recreational rider and I can ride the bike that I got from Walmart, and it's totally fine because I just ride around the block. It's totally cool. As you become a discerning player, you will learn more and more and more and more, and you will make a decision at that point. And you'll say, you know what? My Epiphone's great. I'm going to throw some pickups in it. I'm going to play it for the rest of my life, and it's totally awesome. And that means that you did what you were supposed to do. Just don't talk crap to anybody else about what they play, because they do things differently, The gear with the most playtime wins. Cool things are cool because they're cool. That's really true. It really is. Thank you for the super chat, Chris. I appreciate that. I tend to focus on certain details, not just large or small. Yeah, there's certain things. That's a good point. I do that a lot with pocket knives, and well, I do it with guitars too. The shape of the neck for me is a big one. And overall, for me these days, overall aesthetic, like when if I look at my Paisley, where is it back there? That my Paisley Challenger, and I look at that thing, every detail is like the whole thing as a package is like, whoa, and then I start to really dive into all the little details. I'm designing a guitar right now. Well, it's just a telly, but I'm working with the folks over on Patreon to put together a telly, because I've got some parts and I wanted to build it up, and I'm getting their input on some stuff. And we're going to do some things that you don't normally see on a telly. And I just really want to get it right. I want to look at every little detail of it and just aesthetically make it like really, really, really pop. And I think it's going to be super exciting, exciting for that. So yeah, I think this is a really good conversation to have. And I don't know if you've noticed this or not, but people want to put a value proposition on everything. But for most people, value leads straight to money, and it's not about the money. Value, in my opinion, has nothing to do with the money, because something can be cost no money, or something can be something you made. This tool right here that is just a block of wood with my name engraved in it that Chris gave me, I really value this. Like, I cannot do my job without this tool. And it was free and it's cheap. I cannot do my job without that tool. So value to me is not about the money. It's about how much do you value it and what do you value about it. To me, a guitar is rarely the very first thing and most important thing to me is not tone. People want to say,
Well, a Les Paul sounds exactly like an Epiphone, or an Epiphone's just as good as a Les Paul, so it's not worth the money. If you don't want to play the guitar, then it's not worth the money. It's not worth having the conversation. Tone doesn't matter if you don't want to play it. People are, what do you mean it's not about the tone? It's not. If you don't want to play it, it doesn't matter. No tone is ever going to come out of that guitar. Chris was saying the guitar that gets the most playtime wins. Well, if it friggin' stays under your bed because you don't want to look at the thing, it doesn't matter. End of story. Don't own guitars that you don't like. That would definitely be an object lesson in all of this. I think about feel. I think about fit and finish. I think about aesthetics. I think about presentation. Like, what does it look like when I open the case? You know, did the company put all the thought into it? Yeah, the case isn't important to the tone, but it's important to the experience. You cannot tell me, if you're not a Les Paul person, that when you open up a Les Paul, that pink fuzzy case with the little silky thing that comes off the top of the guitar, they don't do that anymore, but they used to. It was really cool. And the smell and everything and how it fits in there. Like when you put it, thump, and it goes in there. You know, my Martin does that too. You put the thing in there and the Martin, it like slides in perfect. And you're like, this is made. Like somebody made this and they thought about this. And this is like cool. Presentation is a thing, you know? Case candy is a thing. I don't really care. I'm not a case candy person, but a lot of people are. You know, all those things matter. The fact that my Mike McCready Strat came in the hardshell brown case with the yellow inside, I love that. Even though it's a Mexican guitar, I love that. I love the fact that it doesn't feel like a Mexican guitar, and now it has value to me because of that. The entire experience put together. I don't care about the tone. I and you, because of what we do together, we can make a guitar sound however we want it to sound. That is absolutely true. If you want the guitar to sound different, you call me, we'll make it sound different. We have between us the resources, me and you, the resources to make a guitar sound however we want. Maybe not acoustics because that's not my jam. But we can make a guitar sound however we want. So tone, in the sense of how most people use it, which we're going to get to why that is in a minute, is not a huge concern to me. Now, if I'm buying a $3,500 guitar, I want it to sound how I want it to sound, right? Like if you're buying a custom shop Les Paul and spending $6,000 or $7,000, you want the entire experience turnkey right out of the box, right? I mean, that's obviously, but you know, so there are situations that are like that. But, you know, I just thought of this. This channel is keeping me from playing my guitar. Well, get that thing in your lap right now, man. To be honest with you, if I wasn't doing a podcast where we use this audio later, I would literally have one in my hand right now as we sit here. And then probably the most important thing I think in the guitar enthusiast realm, there's two things. We're going to kind of get into the nerdy side here in a minute, but is where the guitar fits in your arsenal. Zoom out a little bit from the actual functions of capacitors and crap and think about how the guitar fits in your arsenal. Where does it fit in your cabinet? You know, if I'm going to go pull out a weapon and go to rock and roll battle tonight or country battle or big band battle, whatever you play, I don't know. Jazz battle sounds weird. I don't know how they can battle with their guitars that high, but okay, whatever. Does it fit? Does it do a thing? Does it fill a need for you? You know, because it's possible that a person who's not been enthusiastic enough about learning about this stuff might get that wrong. And that's part of the thing that we try to do with the channel too, is help with that, right? Like, make sure you don't make a wrong choice, because I don't want you to make a wrong choice, spend $2,500 on something you didn't really want. You know what I mean? Yeah. All right, let's see. And then probably the other thing. We talked about tone being a religion and guitars being a religion. And I think that's really, really happened. And that's a negative. Um, I don't like that. I don't view it that way. I wish people wouldn't view it that way. Religion is a pursuit to which someone ascribes a supreme importance. And I know that guitar for a lot of people it's a mental health thing. It is for me. It's very important to them. It's their entire life. I do understand that. But being right about how the guitar works should not be the thing that drives that belief for you. The way the guitar makes you feel should drive that, not the fact that you think that this vibration is causing that other thing and whatever. Because the one thing I've learned, or the few things I've learned after 10 years of doing this, is that the majority of folks, and this is not to talk down about anybody, you've seen it too. We're having a conversation here, really. I know you can't talk back that much, but we're having a conversation here. And you know what I'm in the spirit that I'm saying this. I'm not saying it in an ugly way, but you know too that in any profession that you're in, that the assumption, if you're an architect, if you're an accountant, if you're a whatever, um, that the majority of folks very much misunderstand a lot of the very fundamental basics of how your profession works, right? So if you're an AC man, or if you're whatever, that the random person who thinks they know everything about their AC system, or whatever it is, whatever you do for work, if you're a mechanic, in your line of work, that the majority of people don't know what they're talking about the thing that you know what you're talking about on a very fundamental level, right? Like people get wrong how an air conditioner works, or they get wrong how the tax code works if you're a tax person, or they call it a refund and it's actually a return. You know what I mean? Like, there's people that those fundamental things that people get wrong that about your profession. People don't know how sound works. They don't understand. The most experienced guitar players don't know how sound works. They don't know how an electric guitar works. They conflate an electric guitar and an acoustic guitar, and they are not the same thing. They do not work the same. They're not. The string vibrating is the only thing. That's a really interesting thing. The string vibrating in space is the only thing that is similar between an electric guitar and an acoustic guitar. The rest of the journey from the vibrating string to sound coming out is completely different. They diverge right there. And so for folks to conflate that and then get into the whole tone wood thing and resonance and sustain and all that stuff. Resonance and sustain's another one. That's why we made the Sustain Bros t-shirt, because you know what I'm talking about when we talk about sustain. If you want resonance, you lose sustain. Period. They're not mutually exclusive, but they are also not. There's gives and takes to that, right? So we've talked about that many times. Capacitors and pots, people don't understand how tone circuits work. They don't understand how volume mods work. All those various things that are based on actual physics. We're not talking about my opinion. We're talking about actual physics. And you've watched a lot of videos and you have a firm understanding of it. So this is all things that a lot of people nerd out about, but it's things that I have a hard time focusing a lot of time on as a creator, because I honestly don't like fueling that. Like, let's get back to the other conversation where we're guitar enthusiasts just talking about our gear and how much we like it. You know what I mean? Like, that's where it's fun for me. That is so fun for me. Oh man, this has been great, you guys. I really appreciate this, and you know, this is awesome. You guys are. I'll give you another similarity between electric and acoustic guitars. Can sound bad on both. I love it. Oh man, this is awesome, y'all. Go be guitar enthusiasts. I've got to run. I've got an engagement that I've got to get to, and I keep these to about an hour or a little less on Tuesday nights. Thanks for hanging out, and we will see you on Thursday.